Hey, and welcome to Bronson Modern Gods. I'm John, and over here, that guy over there. There it is. It's Richard.
Hey, I'm Richard. How you doing, John?
I'm okay. It's been a killer week again. Man, what is going on with the market?
It is just bullish beyond belief. I can't understand the motivation. What's driving this kind of purchase power?
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about variants, second and third prints, books that are hotter than the original prints for different various reasons, and whether it's justified or not. That's the big question. What are these books going to hold their value, or is it going to be sinking like a stone in 3 months? That's today's topic. But first, I want to remind everyone to please follow us on Instagram and on Facebook at Bronze and Modern Gods. There it is. I'm trying to make it appear on the bottom there. It's a little struggle for me to do that. It's really easy to find. You know, we're not on Snapchat. We're not on the Tickety Talk yet. We're working on it. Who knows? Those kids these days, who knows? We might be on a platform that gets removed by executive order. I don't want to do that. Give us a like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this show, please leave us a rate and review on your favorite podcast platform, because every time you do, Richard gets a little tingle inside.
We'll leave it at that.
They can't see your expression. So you might want to say something there, Richard.
We're good.
Let's go on to the nerd shirts. I can start this week. I don't know if I've worn this one yet. I'm kind of shocked I haven't, if I have not. But this is my Steve Ditko Doctor Strange shirt.
Nice.
Which is a recreation of the original merchandise that Marvel put out in the mid-'60s, which was like their first line of merchandise. And they advertised it. If you look, you see these old house ads in the Silver Age Marvels, and they recreated them all a few years ago. So I had to grab that. What you got?
Nice. Okay, mine takes a little bit of thought process, and it's kind of pertinent to your book choice for later on in the show.
Okay.
So let me stand up here, and it says,
what do we
want? Time travel. When do we want it? Irrelevant.
I like a little foreshadowing there. It's almost like you traveled ahead in time and found out what we're going to be talking about later. Before we get to that, let's talk about our hot book of the week. And it's a modern book. In fact, it's so modern, it came out last Wednesday. There's no debate. I think it's just a no-brainer. The hot modern book this week is Legends of the Dark Knight #1. The first appearance of the Robin King. This book is on fire. It hasn't even been a full 7 days since it hit the shelves. The regular edition is already selling for $25, and the 1 in 25 variant, which is the first actual cover appearance of the Robin King, is easily selling for $200. This is crazy. People are really into this Robin King, and if you don't know, it is an alternate version of Bruce Wayne, who, you know, as kids do, killed his own parents and his butler, and people seem to like this character. Hey, kids, comics.
Yeah, I'm trying to feel. I'm not a DC person for the most part. There are some titles from DC that I follow. I've been reading Batman for years. Just like with Punchline, I'm having a hard time warming up to this as a long-term character, as a long-term spec.
I think it's manufactured.
Yeah, I really think it's that's my feeling. I would buy this book and flip it as quickly as possible if that was my goal. I have a hard time seeing in 2 years this book being a $200-300 book. That's just my gut feeling. It's not based on any foreknowledge or anything like that. It just, to me, that $300, $200 that you put into this book would go a long way towards getting you to some really nice Bronze Age books that are out there, some nice X-Men.
Some more foreshadowing there about what we're going to discuss during our main topic.
Right. So, as always, caveat emptor, buyer beware. Take a look at this. Don't be caught up in the hype. Is this something that you really want? Do you really want to pay $200, $300 for a book that just came out this week?
I will say, unlike Punchline, everybody kind of almost universally had the same reaction. Like, oh, it's so obvious they're trying to make Harley happen. You quit trying to make Fetch happen, DC. But I think with the Robin King, from the reaction I'm seeing, people genuinely like this character and are excited about the character, as opposed to looking at it as a marketing construct, much like a Punchline was, or to a lesser extent, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, the Clown Hunter.
Yeah.
Great name, DC. Keep it up. I'm also surprised to hear you say you don't like much DC, because growing up, that was not the case, was it?
No, I'm a big Teen Titans fan. I'm a big Legion fan. I didn't say I don't like DC. I just don't read as much of DC as I catch of Marvel nowadays. So yeah, there's still some great DC titles out there. Don't want to offend anybody. It's just in my personal reading habits, it's mainly Marvel and Independence.
I'm kind of with you on that, because DC just seems, and please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or on socials, it just seems so dark and nihilistic, and there's like no hope and no heroes. Whereas at least Marvel, you've got some heroism happening.
I don't know if that darkness is intentional. It's definitely there, but I feel that DC versus Marvel, you've got a darker DCU than it is for the MCU, for example.
And I don't know who that is in the background, but it's obviously a DC character, Crypto or Ace the Bat Hound. But
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I have two dogs, and they are quite vocal every now and then, so I
they are
apologize.
registering their displeasure with this talk about DC. So we probably should move on to our main topic, which is second, third prints, variants. What's all the hype? There is some strangeness happening here, where we have books where the second print, the third print, the strange variant that comes out the same time as the regular cover are far outstripping the first print in terms of hype and value. And some examples of this, I think the biggest examples right now are the Marvel side with Venom #3 and Thor #5. There's also some minor examples like Strange Academy #2, the different Negan Lives versions, all the different foil versions, and the blue second print version, and Agents of Atlas. What do you think about all this, Richard?
This is interesting. We've moved into a place where we've got variations of the original cover having a higher value or equal value to the original cover. Not only things like we've been tracking, for example, newsstands, the newsstand editions of different books as being variants of the book, but now we've also got to look at the multiple prints of a book. If a book was popular enough to have a second print, we will get a whole nother book, sometimes with a different cover, sometimes with minor changes to the original cover. DC is very very well known for making simple color changes to their covers and indicating the differences in the print that way. So is Marvel. But every now and then you get one of these later prints with a completely different cover. And Venom #3 is a perfect example of that. The third print, not the second print, but the third print of that book actually has Null on the cover. This is Null's first cover appearance. They waited until the third print of the book. Third prints means a smaller print run, less initial purchase of that book. And now you're seeing huge price increases for that third print. You're seeing $850 for the third print, with only maybe $400, $450 for the first print. It's crazy.
It's supply and demand, I guess. These later printings have a smaller print run and people want them. It seems to me that a lot of this is strategy for Marvel and DC, particularly Marvel, in keeping the market share and keeping things going, and keeping the revenue flow going, because you've got this Thor #5. Okay, we're going to introduce yet another major villain that's going to be a major part of a major crossover that's going to be majorly happening majorly this fall. And then here is the second print with a different cover. Here's the third print where he's featured on the cover. Hey, let's go back to issue 4 where he does a cameo and do a new cover where he's on the cover.
Right.
You're talking about the revenue that they would normally generate from one book's print run, and now you've tripled it, quadrupled it. It's actually kind of found money for Marvel, and boy, the fans are just eating it up. And I'm kind of looking with a little jaundiced eye over to the side.
Yeah, we've got, you look at Edge of Spider-Verse #2, the first appearance of Spider-Gwen. There are 5 prints of that book. You're telling me Marvel couldn't, by the third print, figure out we need to do a decent sized print run to capture the audience that's out there? And not only do you have these numerous prints, but you've also got store variants. Store variants are something that is really taking over, especially for books like Venom, where you'll have a shop like Frankie's Comics, one of my favorite places. They will commission with an artist to have their own exclusive cover. They commission Peach Momoko to do a cover, and it's the Black Winter, and he's striking in the Thor 337 pose and through the logo, but it's him, it's not Thor. That book sold out instantly. They had to purchase from Marvel the rights to create so many copies of the book, which they did. So now we've got that in the mix. We've got these store variants, because if you think about it, this book has been out there for a while, and who now owns the first appearance of a character?
I can't understand what's going on.
It's crazy. This kind of battle between the variant covers and the normal Marvel line is going to continue, and I see Marvel and DC, all the publishers, really encouraging these store covers because it keeps interest. It generates interest in these titles, and that interest will convert to sales for future books.
Yeah, you're looking at books that probably initially had a 60,000, 70,000 print run maximum. I mean, that's probably being generous in this market. But with these multiple printings and store printings, all of a sudden you're looking at 100K plus, and it's like the glory days of the 90s coming back for the publishers. I mean, I would be approving these left and right. It's found money. But will they sustain for collectors? That is the big question.
Yeah, especially when there's so minimal variance in some of them. I'm thinking right now of the Negan Lives copy book that just came out. It was released as a regular book. It had a variant cover, and the only difference in these covers is the color of the logo. So we had the original color. Now we have a second print. We have a gold that came out that was limited. We had a silver that came out that was limited. We now have a bronze that came out. Supposedly the rarest of them is the red foil that was given out to employees and to a limited number that went out to buyers of their mystery boxes, which I happened to buy one. I bought a mystery box, and we actually showed the live unboxing, and I got one of those red foil books. But there's no difference between these things besides that highlight color in the cover. And that highlight cover determines the value of that book in the market. And I think that's just, I don't know if that's sustainable to be able to have 7 different versions of the same book like that.
I'm shaking my head because I had a store in 1993, 1994, and especially Negan Lives is a great example. It's probably the most 90s boom thing that I've seen come along in a while. It is a foil cover that's embossed, that has variants, and all I can see is warning signs flashing in front of my eyes about the big bust that happened in the 90s when you had, multiple variants and foil and holographic things. And I really hope we've learned our lesson from those times. But, if you're a guy in his 20s and you weren't there, this is like probably really cool.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Batman 100 is coming right around the corner, and so is Spider-Man 850. So we will see how many different variant covers we get of those kinds of iconic numbers.
Great example, though. Amazing Spider-Man 800. How many variants were there of Spider-Man 800? And now, you can't get rid of some of those variants. They just sit.
Wonder Woman 750 was the same thing. We had so many different variants. They were selling boxes that had 9 different variants in them as a way of shortcutting the whole process of trying to collect them. That's to me unnecessary.
Yeah, I think the fans decide themselves, for the Wonder Woman example, okay, the Adam Hughes one is the one to get. And they kind of focus on one of them. So be careful if you're trying to, unless you're a fan, if you love Wonder Woman, you want all 9, God bless you. Yeah. But if you're trying to do a flip, I'd be careful. So it's funny we're talking about the big boom and bust of the 90s because we have a new feature that we're debuting this week, and it is called the 25-year rule. So, what is the 25-year rule? Well, it is about nostalgia. And when you grew up, and 25 years later, you are now in your 30s, you're in your early 40s, and you have some disposable income you didn't have before. And what do you want? You want to recreate your childhood and buy those things you couldn't afford when you were flat broke with a paper route back then. So, the 25-year rule, each week we're going to focus on a book from 1995, 25 years ago, that we think has a lot of potential. Probably going to see some uptick on these books because people want to recreate that time. So this week, we're going to talk about The Silver Surfer issue 100. Now, Silver Surfer had been running for quite a few years at this point, and in January of 1995, issue 100 hit the shelves. Now, this was a very different market than when The Silver Surfer launched in 1987. You had the crash in 93, 94. Hundreds and hundreds of comic book stores closed. Print runs became very constricted and small. So Silver Surfer 100, you may not even be aware of this book. It's a really cool looking book. It came out in 4 different versions. There was a direct edition only holographic cover, which is very cool if you ever see it in person. There was a direct edition only non-holographic cover. If you didn't want to pay the extra for that, they had that option for stores as well. Then there was a newsstand only non-holographic cover. Pretty scarce, I'm imagining. However, it is not the rarest version of Silver Surfer 100. And I would even suppose this version of Silver Surfer 100 may be the rarest Silver Surfer comic book ever produced. And that is the Marvel Watch variant. What the heck is the Marvel Watch? It's like a Silver Surfer watch you wear? No. The Marvel Watch variant was a preview, almost like kind of like the diamond shipping previews that you used to see. It was the full issue that was sent to retailers before it came out, but it had an 8-page wraparound, black and white, of hype around Silver Surfer that was for retailers only. They were calling it Silver Surfer Month. They were telling retailers why they should up their orders on this title going forward. They were announcing Tom Grinberg was going to be the new artist. And so each store got 1 copy of this Marvel Watch variant of Silver Surfer number 100. So if you're looking at 1995, how many comic book stores conceivably were around in 1995 after the crash, and they all got 1 copy of this book? I'm going to put it out there. This is probably, I'm not even saying probably, this is the rarest Silver Surfer comic book in existence. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. And it's avoided the hype train that has come around for comic books right now. So it's kind of a sleeper. When you can go out and find it on eBay or find it in potentially at your LCS, take a look at it, see the condition. Now, it's the cover of this book is susceptible to staining and to all kinds of flaws because it's basically a white cover. So you want to watch for the condition. But again, this is a rare book. This is kind of like one of those rare newsstands or Canadian price variants. There aren't very many of them out there. So even if the condition isn't perfect, pick it up, especially if it's under $50. It's definitely something that I would look at picking up.
Now, you see things like the Malibu Sun with the first appearance of Spawn. That actually went to fans. So as scarce as that book is, imagine this one. It went to retailers only. For example, the GPA for the holographic cover, the normal non-holographic cover in 9.8, it's around $80, $85. The Marvel Watch variant in 9.8 sold for $300 last month. And that's with it just kind of flying under the radar. If we're talking variants and you want something that's possibly going to hold its value, take a look at this Silver Surfer 100 Marvel Watch variant, if you can find one.
We were talking about variants earlier. This is one that I would definitely recommend looking at. This isn't some minor change. This isn't some marketing thing. This is actually something that is scarce and rare. Think about all the different LCSs, all the comic book stores that got this thing in, and they may have read it, they may have thrown it in a pile, who knows? They may have ripped off those 8 pages and just sell the whole foil, the hologram copy. You don't know. I can guarantee you there are less copies in existence now than they were manufactured. So let's go out there and see if we can find this book.
Hey, I had a store and I got these preview copies all the time. And you know where they ended up? The bin. They went right in the garbage if I was not into it. And maybe I gave it to a customer. So even if there were conceivably 2,500 of these made, one for each store that was still in existence in 1995, I doubt there's that many left of that 2,500 that are in any kind of collectible condition. So happy hunting.
Yeah, and if you do find one, drop a comment. Let us know. We'd be really interested in seeing what's out there in the wild.
So let's move on to our underrated books of the week, especially since we're talking about Silver Surfer Marvel Watch Edition for issue 100. I think that's very underrated, but you have a really cool couple of books this week that you want to focus on.
I want to talk about Thor 338 and 339. Everyone knows 337 as the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill. Such an iconic cover. Walt Simonson did with Beta Ray on the cover, and he's slamming his hammer through the logo, white cover. Everyone knows it. Everyone, when they're flipping through a long box, sees it. They'll yank that and put it in their pile, pretty much regardless of condition, because that book is just that important. But right behind 337 is 338 and 339, the second appearance of Beta Ray Bill. And more importantly, in 339, the first appearance of Stormbreaker, his hammer. So those books have, for the most part, they go without, people will leave them behind. In search of that 337, they'll leave those two books behind. But one of the trends that we've been seeing recently is, especially an example of Miles Morales, people have been priced out of his first appearance. It's $1,100 now for a Ultimate Fallout 4 first print. That is out of the reach of a large section of the community. So what happens? They turn to his second appearance and third appearance. And the same thing with Spider-Gwen. Her first appearance is $800. So let's go find maybe the third print, or go to find some other avenues of scratching that itch. So once the market sees that there's an interest in Beta Ray Bill, let's say there's a movie announcement or a TV show announcement, or like he appears in Thor as in the Black Winter, there will be interest in his other appearances, his second appearance, his third appearance. And these books are cheap. You can find them I bought my last pair of copies for $15 a piece. Wow. They're really inexpensive. You can find them out there, again, because no one's putting a value on these books now. This phenomenon of the second appearance and third appearance really being important for the collectors seems to be something that's more recent. And because of that, I think these two books are under the radar. So if you can go out there and find them, pick them up, I almost guarantee you that Beta Ray Bill is going to show up in the MCU sometime here in the next couple of years. And then when he does, his first print, or the 337, which is going for about $500, $525 right now, is going to be an $1,100 book. And when that's an $1,100 book, what are people going to turn to? His second appearance, which is going to be 338. And Stormbreaker is going to be an important hammer. We've already seen it in the MCU, as a matter of fact. So we're going to see a spike in that book too. So this is the kind of book you want to buy now. Buy it for $15, buy it for $20, buy it for $30 if it's a good condition book, because you're looking for that return when that book becomes a multi-$100 book once there's Beta Ray Bill in the MCU.
Yeah, I bet you're right. I mean, speaking of keys and first appearances for major media stars, that's my underrated book this week. It is, well, I don't want to spoil it yet. What do you think the first appearance of Doctor Who in comics is? If you're the average person, you probably think it's this: Marvel Premiere number 57 from 1980 with Tom Baker on the cover.
Good old Tom Baker.
Walt Simonson cover, by the way, speaking of Beta Ray Bill. And I remember I was the biggest Whovian, still am. I watched Tom Baker episodes on PBS and my local station. And I remember tuning in and going, by accident one night and going, what the heck is this? It looks like a Sid and Marty Krofft scene in the Sea Monsters low budget chroma key piece of crap. And I couldn't stop watching, and I became the biggest fan. So I remember when this hit the shelves, this was a big deal for, 12-year-old, 11-year-old John. I was like, wow, Doctor Who and Marvel together. It is not the first appearance of Doctor Who in comics. It actually was way back in 1966 with Doctor Who and the Daleks from Dell Comics. This was released in conjunction with the movie starring Peter Cushing in 1966, which is probably the first time anyone in the US even had a glimmer of what Doctor Who or who Doctor Who is. It was released theatrically here. It didn't do well. It was probably a Saturday matinee for kids kind of release back then. But Dell did put out movie classics featuring Doctor Who and the Daleks, and it is the first time Doctor Who appeared in American comics. It is super tough in grade. It is hard to find a high grade copy of this. Mine's a 7.0. And
look at that black cover. Yeah, that's got to be tough for us.
It's tough. Granted, I've never pressed or cleaned this. I bought this way before I got into that, so maybe I could do a little CPR on this. But just as an example, the highest grade that's ever been sold is a 9.4, and it sold for $685 last year. The good news about this book, it's still fairly easy to get at shows. I see quite a few of them up on show racks. In fact, when you and I were at the California Comic-Con in January, there was a copy up on someone's rack, and I kind of took a look at it, and I made the executive decision that my 7.0 was better looking, and that one was priced pretty high. This property has a huge fan base. I don't have to tell you about crazy Doctor Who fans. There's a Doctor Who focused convention every year in LA called Gallifrey One, which brings people all the way from Australia to attend it. So if you're a Whovian and you haven't got a copy of Doctor Who and the Daleks, you might want to get on that.
Hey, I am a big Doctor Who fan from the same era. Tom Baker was my intro to the whole milieu. I would love to have both books, actually.
WVIZ, Channel 25, Cleveland, Ohio, 7 o'clock every weeknight.
That's right. That's right.
That's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave us a comment. Please leave us a rate and review. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bronze and Modern Gods. And we will see you next time.
Stay safe, everybody.